Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. Today we are jumping straight into a strategic resource that's focused on one main goal.
Right.
Lifting your daily output and, your overall quality, but without having to commit to some massive, painful overhaul.
We've all been there.
Exactly. We're talking about finding those high leverage ways to get compounding returns in your focus, in your predictability, and in quality, starting today.
And this is a deep dive into the world of continuous improvement, specifically the Japanese concept of Kaizen.
Kaizen, right.
And we're going to see how these really powerful, lean-inspired tools can translate directly from, say, the factory floor, where they achieved world-class efficiency.
And bring them right into the modern professional's calendar and routine.
Precisely. The source material we have is, well, it's a surprisingly comprehensive resource for boosting both your personal effectiveness and really your business efficiency. And it's all about radical incrementalism.
Okay, let's unpack that. I mean, we know you, our listener, you're a busy professional, you need to gain knowledge quickly, and you're looking for strategic insights you can apply, this week.
Not next quarter.
Or not next quarter. So the mission here is to really extract
It's a fundamental insight into human behavior. I mean, the fear of failure is almost always proportional to the size of the commitment.
Right.
If you tell someone they need to completely redesign their entire reporting process, they feel immediate dread. They push back.
But the low-friction approach of Kaizen, it's more like treating your day as a series of tiny, measurable experiments.
Exactly. It completely bypasses that fear.
So you're not asking for a huge 2-month commitment. You're just asking for, a 10-minute test.
That's it. You try a tiny change, you collect some simple, quick data, did it work better or not, and you decide fast. Keep it or adjust the idea. And crucially, you're relying on facts, not your mood or inertia, to guide the change.
This whole structure, it borrows heavily from lean thinking, the idea of relentlessly chasing value and ruthlessly cutting anything that isn't adding value.
Which we call waste.
We hear about waste constantly in manufacturing, but the source does an excellent job translating the 3 key categories into, our context, knowledge work.
Yes, our emails, our meetings, our documents.
And these are the 3 wastes we really need to map to our daily output.
Okay, so the first one is muda. This is basically just non-value work. It's the activity you know is pointless, but you do it anyway because...
Now I've always done it.
Exactly. Think unnecessary emails, pointless reports no one reads, or those endless formatting battles in a shared document. If a client wouldn't pay you for it, it's probably muda.
Okay, so that's muda. The second one is mura, unevenness.
Right. And this isn't just about an unpredictable workload. In a modern office, Mura is that constant context switching.
The ping-ponging between Slack and emails and meeting reminders.
Yes, it just destroys your cognitive flow. That constant interruption is, well, it's the knowledge worker's equivalent of a broken, sputtering conveyor belt.
And the third one, Muri.
Muri is overload. It's excessive commitments or processes that require an unsustainable effort. It's demanding more capacity time, attention, mental energy than you actually have.
And Muri is what leads to burnout. And ironically, worse quality work. So when you start to look at your calendar through this lens of muda, mura, and Muri, you realize these are the silent killers of focus. We have to translate these into, common personal wastes.
Things like context switching, waiting for approvals, and that soul-crushing time you spent on rework because the process was unclear the first time around.
And to make those changes stick, to make sure they don't just rely on willpower, we need a mechanism.
And that's where we bring in the engine of change, the PDCA loop.
Plan, do, check, act.
That simple cycle is the foundation. It's how you turn a single bottleneck you hate into a testable, scalable habit. What's so crucial about PDCA is that it insists on evidence. We're not just making a change because we feel like it.
We're running an experiment.
We are running experiments to see what actually works. These short cycles, they lower the fear of change and they build momentum. It keeps everything practical and fast.
Okay, let's get tactical. Let's say my recurring problem is that preparing for our team's bi-weekly strategy meeting, it always takes me 90 minutes. I'm always chasing down data that wasn't ready.
A classic problem.
How do I run a PDCA experiment on that this week?
Okay, so you start with plan. First, you define your hypothesis. Something like, if I move the data collection deadline back 48 hours and create a simple 5-point checklist for data input, I can reduce my prep time from 90 minutes down to 30.
So a crisp problem statement. My customer is my manager who gets a better report sooner, and my metric is defined, lead time reduction.
Perfect. Then you implement that change, but only for this next cycle. It's a short pilot, tight boundaries. You communicate the new deadline, you use the checklist, and you log your start and end times.
And the key is, it's low risk. If it fails, the meeting still happens.
Exactly. Next is the critical step, check. You review the results with light data. Did the prep time actually drop to 30 minutes? Or maybe just to 50?
And you have to look for side effects. Maybe the team felt rushed by that new deadline.
Yes. This is where you compare the before and after with facts, not feelings. And finally, you act. If it worked, say, prep time dropped to 50 minutes and data quality went up, you standardize it. That becomes the new standard work.
And if it failed?
Yeah.
Or the side effects were too severe?
You iterate. You go back to the plan with an improved hypothesis. Maybe 48 hours was too much, so you try moving it back just 24 hours next time.
That iterative process is really why it works. You're capturing knowledge from each run. You're making your next decision faster and smarter.
You're turning your routine into a living, constantly optimizing process. It's the difference between just working hard and, working intelligently.
So to make this stick, we need tools that make all this invisible work, well, visible, but without adding a bunch of reporting overhead.
And the source gives us 3 really powerful, simple options, all derived from decades of lean practices.
First up is personal Kanban.
Right. And this is more than just a fancy to-do list. This means setting up a visual workflow with columns, like backlog, doing, and done. But the really critical component here is implementing strict work-in-progress limits.
WIP limits.
Yeah.
So you actively restrict the number of items you allow in that doing column.
Yes.
But isn't that just, how do we make those WIP limits actually stick? Especially when managers are constantly throwing new tasks at you.
Well, that's the genius of it. The WIP limit forces a conversation. It forces you to talk about priority and capacity. The source mentions teams that rigorously implemented tight WIP limits, and they often doubled their throughput in days.
Doubled? Wow, why?
Because it physically forces you to stop starting new things and focus on finishing what you've already started. It immediately shows you where your process stalls, and it kills the cognitive drain of context switching.
So if your doing column is full, you can't just accept new work. You have to finish something first.
You're forced to swarm on the existing tasks. That's powerful leverage. You're fixing the system's flow, not just pushing yourself harder.
Okay, the next tool is the 5 whys.
The 5 whys is so simple, but it's deeply effective for getting to the root cause. If you have a recurring problem, say you forgot to attach the critical file in your last 3 client emails, you don't just fix the email.
You ask why.
Yeah.
5 times.
You keep asking why until you peel back the layers and treat the ultimate cause, not just the surface symptom.
Can you give us a quick example? For like a knowledge work problem.
Sure, let's use the missed attachment problem. I keep forgetting the attachment. Why 1? Because I draft the email before the file is finalized. Why 2? Because I need the final numbers from finance, and they're usually late.
Okay.
Why 3? Because they rely on sales data that gets updated late. Why 4? Because our sales reporting software refreshes at 10 a.m., but I try to send my email at 9 a.m., Why 5?
You didn't know the refresh schedule.
Exactly. The root cause isn't my forgetfulness, it's a system dependency conflict. The solution isn't a sticky note, it's changing my process to 11 a.m. You treat the system, not the symptom.
That immediately reveals a mirror, that unevenness you didn't even know was there. And the third tool is value stream mapping.
This sounds a bit corporate, I know, but it's basically just sketching your routine. You draw out your process for handling a complex client request. Each step, the active work time, the wait time, any handoffs.
And that simple sketch shows you where the delays are.
Instantly. If your work takes 4 hours of lead time, but you only spent 30 minutes actively working, you know that 3.5 hours of waste is due to waiting or handoffs. That's pure muda.
So to make these tools actionable, we need data. But light data, right? Not a bunch of reporting busy work.
We need data that drives results. And the recommendation here is very focused. You only track 3 core metrics. That's it.
Quality, speed, and flow.
That's the story. First, lead time. The total start-to-finish time, including all the waiting. Second, cycle time. The time you spent actively working.
The value add time.
The value add time. And third, error rate or defect rate, your measure of quality. How often do you have to do rework?
And understanding the relationship between lead time and cycle time, that's the real strategic insight here.
It is. If your lead time is high but your cycle time is low, you have a massive Mira and Muda problem. Waste is just eating your time. If your cycle time is high, you have a Miri problem. You're overloading yourself.
And the idea is to create a lightweight dashboard, simple trend lines, and automate the capture where you can.
Right. Keep it small 3 metrics, stay stable, define your terms, and act on the signals. Every chart should suggest your next PDCA experiment.
So if we connect this back to the bigger picture, this is way more than just personal productivity hacks. This is about business continuity, strategic predictability.
It's how high-performing individuals and teams align their output with what the organization actually needs. By investing small, consistent effort now, you gain these compounding returns in quality and predictability.
And in a volatile business environment, predictable delivery is a massive competitive advantage.
A huge advantage. If your team can consistently forecast and deliver high-quality work, you minimize organizational risk.
Okay, we have to talk about implementation, because there's always resistance to change, right? Whether it's your own inertia or team pushback.
It's normal. And the solution, according to the source, is always to radically lower the bar for entry.
You have to shrink the scope. Make the first test take days, not months.
You make the first action almost trivial. A 5-minute test, a one-click habit, something to reduce that initial fear and show immediate, undeniable value.
That quick, low-stakes win. That's what builds the trust and momentum you need to try the next thing.
And you have to celebrate the micro wins. Finishing a focus block, using your WIP limits for a whole day. You reinforce the behavior until it becomes a standard ritual, not some policy someone forced on you.
And for those of us who are part of a larger organization,
You have to align your personal experiments with team and organizational goals. If the team's goal is reducing client complaints, your experiment should focus on reducing your personal error rate. It's about getting that blend of flow-focused lean thinking and the data rigor from Six Sigma.
and simple checklists, which are basically the embodiment of standard work, they're key. They reduce the variation in outcomes right before those critical handoffs.
They prevent those predictable, dumb mistakes that can just ruin your afternoon.
To help launch all this, the source gives a really sharp, practical 30-day plan. It breaks the PDCA cycle into 4 manageable weeks.
It gives you a structured path to follow.
So, week 1 is all about the plan. You define one bottleneck problem, just one clear metric to measure success. And you plan a tiny experiment.
Week 2 is the do phase. You pilot that small change, tight boundaries, and you start tracking your light data, your lead time, your cycle time. You're only collecting data, no judgments yet.
Then in week 3, you check. You review the data. Did the Z time drop? Did the error rate go up unexpectedly? You decide what worked, what needs to change, or what you should just drop because it was a bad idea.
And finally, week 4 is the act phase. You standardize the wins, document the new process, make a short checklist, and then you immediately pick the next small experiment to start.
That sustained success is all about that constant small iteration.
And making sure changes are reversible if they don't work out.
So what does this all really mean? Continuous improvement? It lives in habits and short, repeatable rituals, not in massive, overwhelming projects.
Exactly. By focusing on value and cutting the obvious waste, the muda, mura, and miri, you free up valuable attention and you raise quality across the board.
So your next step should be infinitesimally small.
Pick one single bottleneck you hate. Choose one metric to track. I highly recommend cycle time, and just start your PDCA cycle today. Don't let the simplicity fool you. This low-friction approach is the core strategic driver for anyone who needs to move faster and deliver higher quality with less chaos.
And standardizing your wins. That's the true key to long-term success, because it codifies your best performance. So the forward-looking question for you to consider this week is this. What small, successful ritual have you already adopted, maybe even accidentally, that you can package into a one-page checklist this week?
A checklist to ensure that your best work survives handoffs, pressure, and organizational growth. That is how your individual insight actually scales into lasting organizational strength.